And welcome back to The Full View. The ANC First Deputy Secretary General, who is also the chairperson of the International Relations and Cooperation Subcommittee of the ANC, has joined the community in Laudium, where calls have been made for international community to stop the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Israeli Defense Forces is continuing with its attack in Gaza, Lebanon and Syria. International News Editor Sophie Mokoena is with Nomvula MonKonyane at the Laudium peace protest. Sophie, the peace protest is one that takes place in the context of ongoing conflict there. What did the ANC talk about, where also the Premier of the province was present today?
Well, I spoke to the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, earlier on after the walk, where I was asking him about the ANC's resolve to continue to support Palestine. And he pointed out that they will continue to do so because this was done by also their forebears. I'm talking here about the former South African President Nelson Mandela, who indicated when he was inaugurated in 1994 that as long as Palestinians are oppressed, that the whole world is still oppressed. And he continued to ensure that wherever he was on multilateral fora, he does point out to the plight of the Palestinians. He has visited Ramallah. We know that there's a huge statue at Ramallah. You'd recall that during the International Court of Justice hearing in The Hague, where I was, the issue of what Mandela stood for on what he said also came out when South Africa presented its case before the International Court of Justice seeking intervention to stop the carnage. But since then, in January, we're talking about more than 40,000 Palestinians who have been killed, particularly children and women. And now we see that war now in Lebanon, including Syria, and therefore the whole region is very, very tense. I'm going to speak to the chairperson of the subcommittee of international relations at the ANC, Nomvula Mokonyane, who has just returned from Mozambique, where they observed elections in Mozambique. Nomvula, let's start with Mozambique. How was it like?
Thank you very much, Sophie. Mozambique was quite peaceful, very interesting, a few lessons to learn, as well as an appreciation of how all parties were able to adhere to the rules of the Electoral Commission. And guess what? We also noticed that in Mozambique, election day is a non-trading day. The same companies that come from South Africa and that are objecting to the election day not being a trading day are actually adhering that side. So that's another practice that we would have to look at.
There's a common trend that South African companies, when they are outside, they behave and also implement the laws of that country. But in our country, it looks like they don't take the ANC in particular, but the government of the day serious.
That's exactly the concern, and hence we're saying, starting with the banks, the various commercial businesses, all of them were closed. And no one was actually making a big hullabaloo about it. And they're saying the law is the law.
And fine, let's talk about what we are here for, the plight of the Palestinians. ANC has supported the cause of the Palestinians for quite a long time. Recently, with the latest carnage, you put a spirited fight, even the government going to the ICJ. But it looks like the war is not coming to an end.
We're quite concerned also now with the recent killing of 20 additional people just today. Quite concerning. Over 42,000 peace-loving people, not soldiers, ordinary civilians, being killed by the Israeli apartheid army, being bombed and all that, including the moving into other neighboring countries and stuff. It is quite concerning, but you need to appreciate that we have actually started to move from protest to action. The very process that is now before the courts, but also the facilitation that we have seen done by the government of China, bringing all the groups from Palestine together, and the work that had started even previously under the leadership of President Thabo Mbeki, it is actually now showing that the world itself. When we went to the court, we were alone, but today we can proudly say there are more than 5 other countries that have joined, and there's also a demand that South Africa in particular, must have a seat in the United Nations Security Council. And lastly, the work that has to be done with regard to famine and hunger. We are also working with the Gift of the Givers and other civil society formations to ensure that we put pressure, because what is going to happen end of the month, the ruling will only happen possibly in a year or so. We need to find interim interventions, because we can't just say we have taken the matter to court. We must now have social interventions taking place.
I have with me young Palestinians. They were brought to South Africa by the Gift of the Givers. What is your message?
I'm very grateful, and I'm happy that there's no war now, there's no killing here. And I just say, like, it's my phone.
She is going to read a message. And you?
I'm very happy for being here, and I really thank the South African government for getting us here, and I'm very happy for the support that South Africa is actually supporting Palestine and Gaza, and inshallah one day Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Yes, inshallah it will be free.
Respected leaders.
Thank you so much. Finally, the issue of the deputy chair of the subcommittee, Dade Obed Babela. What happened and why this drastic step?
We all can't explain exactly what led to this situation, but it was a misrepresentation of the African National Congress, including the composition of the delegation, and hence this decision that has been taken. And from here, as it has been announced by the Secretary General, other due processes of the organization will take place. It was an unfortunate occasion that actually tried to undo the work that we have done and the relationships that we have invested on over time.
It's pain.
Thank you so much.
That's why
the ANC Deputy Secretary General ending the interview with the announcement yesterday that the ANC has decided to remove the Deputy Chair of the Subcommittee of International Relations, Obed Babela, from that committee because he visited Morocco. You know that Morocco has been a thorny issue for South Africa because of the tension between Morocco and Sahrawi. You know that Algeria has been backing the Sahrawi people, and therefore South Africa doing the same and visiting Morocco. According to the ANC, it was not done in proper channels. Back to you, studio.
Thank you so much for that, Sophie Mokoena, coming to us live from Pretoria.